Well, you've had a few days to think about your year. Obviously, for you, a little bit different than some of these other guys. You come over here in a trade, and when you think about how your season wrapped up, what are your initial thoughts on your year?
It was interesting, to say the least. Just speaking for my time here, given the trade and everything, there's obviously an adjustment period of coming into a new organization and just trying to get comfortable, trying to settle in, get acquainted with the guys, the staff, the facilities. So I was really fortunate that, you look at the players, the coaching staff, management, the athletic staff, the equipment staff, they're all such amazing people here, and they made that transition for me really easy and really allowed me to settle in quickly and kind of find my game within this organization with this team. And I thought things kind of went well for me on a personal level as the season wrapped up. And extremely unfortunate scenario for us given how things finished in the playoffs, but I think we learned a lot as a group, and hopefully we can keep a good chunk of this core together for next year.
What are some of those things that you learned after coming over to the organization and then making that late season and then playoff run?
It was for me just making sure that I stayed true to who I was, not try and be something that I'm not when you're coming in. You see that sometimes when guys come in, they feel they have to do so much to, whether that be try and make an impression or just try and be someone that they're really not, whether that be as a player on the ice or a person off the ice. So I think, it was a learning curve. I was in Manitoba for 5.5 years, pretty well, almost 6, and to get a change of scenery and a new opportunity, I couldn't be more thankful to have come here and had this opportunity, and I think it really helped me grow as both a player and a person.
Both of your teams, you mentioned Manitoba, same thing here, where you kind of share a facility. There's a lot of back and forth between the NHL and AHL team. What's that been like? And maybe was it a little bit different than the way they do things there? Because I feel like this is probably the exception. Most teams have a little bit of a distance between their AHL and NHL teams.
Yeah. So I don't really know any different, right, in the sense that I've been in 2 organizations now where we're under the same roof. It's nice, especially when you're a young prospect. Now that I'm getting a little bit older, it's not necessarily changing. The goal is always to try and play in the NHL, but especially as a young player, when you're working with the development staff and you get to have that one-on-one conversation with them more frequently because they're at the rink as well, because the big club's here too. So I already said this, having not known what it's like to not be under the same roof, but there's, I think, a huge value for both an organization and a player to all kind of be under the same roof.
What was it like to work with Chris Height, a guy who primarily focuses on the defensive side of things, and obviously someone who has worked a lot on that side of the game? What was your relationship like with him here down the stretch?
It was awesome. I can't thank him enough for how much he was able to provide me from a coaching perspective, and really made the transition for me from Manitoba to Ontario pretty seamless. He walked me through, and between him and Brad Schuler, them providing me video to learn our new systems, because that for me was a pretty big adjustment, having played a new system that I hadn't played in ever really, but coming from systems that I'd been playing for 6 years in Manitoba. So being able to work with Chris really made me enjoy my time here a lot more, and it was nice to get a new opinion and a new view on the game and kind of see it from a different lens, and for him to provide me insight and things that I wasn't really provided elsewhere. So it was good.
Obviously, there was the trade mid-season, and you come over from a different organization, but did you have any personal goals going into the year that maybe you've reflected on since the season came to a close?
Yeah, I loved my time in Manitoba. The way that things kind of unfortunately panned out this year was frustrating for myself. So the goals that I had set out at the start of the season weren't fulfilled, not because of my own doing, just the way that things were managed there. So I'm really more so speaking just to the way things kind of went here, and being able to be given an opportunity and really a defined role that I mean, at the start of the season, I know the player that I want to be, the things that I want to work on, and I mean, it was a small sample size here, given coming in at the trade deadline and only playing the last 10 or 15 games and the playoffs. But I was able to work on those things and those goals that I would usually set out to try and achieve at the start of a season in the small window that I was given here.
What does your off season look like normally? Might that stay the same? Are you doing anything differently? Walk us through what you usually do during the off season.
I go home. I spend a lot of time with my family and my girlfriend back home. I got a great training group there that I skate and work out with throughout the summer back home in Saskatoon. And I spend a lot of time at our family cottage too. I mean, that's my favorite place to be in the whole world, is up at the lake with my family. So I try and spend as much time up there as I can. And actually, my girlfriend and I are headed to France at the end of June. We're going to Marseille, France and Paris, France for 10 or 12 days. So that's something for me to look forward to as well.